All right, producer Tom cues me back in. That caller patiently waited for 2.5 minutes. Let her have some airtime. Michael Regan.
Okay, thank
How are you?
Sure. I was just listening in, and I heard that you had Attorney McPadden on air.
Right next to me on the left, Leslie Gold McPadden.
It's true.
Yes. I was a client of hers a couple years back.
Try not to say your last name for HIPAA. The other callers have been slipping. Just your first name, and she'll most likely get it.
Okay, my name's Amy.
I know who it is.
Awesome.
It's good to hear your voice.
But yeah, I just wanted to say, to other listeners out there that Leslie was amazing to work with. She fought really hard for me, and if I ever had another case, I would definitely go through her. I was really pleased with everything, and I just think, you couldn't have a better person on air today.
Oh, I absolutely felt this. I am in the boardroom trying to get their business, and all of a sudden I'm drawn to these people. I'm like, hey, you guys want to be a guest? And it was just a natural fit. And here, the listeners, you're driving around listening to the radio, and you're like, I'm actually going to call and plug my buddy Leslie. So good karma. Very nice job on your part.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to represent good people, and what we do is we build on relationships with judges, relationships with clients, relationships with commissioners, and it's so important to me, and I'm so happy that over the years I've stayed on your radar.
Oh, definitely. I thought you were great to work with. It was more like we were friends rather than client to lawyer.
That's what they want to convey. It's not a lawyer-client thing. It's a mutual friendship where they're fighting for a family member.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I felt like she really, cared about me and my feelings and my needs and got me the money I deserved. So I was really pleased with her. And I just wanted to let everyone know that.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
And do us a favor. In about 10 days, check the YouTube link. You'll actually hear yourself on the air. My producer Nick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're shooting live right now on YouTube. So.
Okay. I'll definitely have to check it out.
www.watr.com and click on the YouTube link. But at the top of the show, at 1:55, producer Nick will take over. So keep listening. Thanks for your time, Amy.
Okay, I will. And thank you for putting me on.
Oh, no worries. Sounds good. All right, so the calls will just keep coming in. This is what I've been working on in the mirror last night in the bathroom. I took a shower late last night to get ready for this morning, and so this is my plug. First of all, I got to say, Ralphie, that I saw at the Home to Home, thanks for all the compliments. You're a big developer. You're a great guy. And who knew I was even on your radar? I'm talking with my wife, Diana, and he says, wait a minute, I know that voice. He goes, no, you're way too young to be that guy. And my other buddy, Lynette, who sometimes once a year maybe, gets in the paper. No, I'm only joking. Every weekend. But anyway, so she says, oh, no, this is him.
And her husband.
Yes, good man.
Great guy.
He's running on the independent ticket.
Yes, he is.
First of all, you employers out there, give me a call if you don't have a flu shot clinic all lined up. I'm going to partner with Rite Aid this year. And, of course, the VNA does a great job. But for the employers out there that need to offer flu shots to your employees, I'm your man for that. I've been selling insurance for 23 years, and it's getting to be cold and flu season. So let's get that done. Ralphie, I already gave you your plug. Okay, so now, this is my comment. Have you been wronged? If you've been wronged and you feel that it didn't sit well with you, particularly Tom, Leslie, and I have been talking about a friend of mine. I'm not even going to go into the situation because it's not a done deal. But I felt that individual was wronged, and it did not sit well with me. I miss him or her so much. I knew the individual. I knew their birthday. I sent them a pizza coupon every year on the birthday. Whenever I would see that person at the employer, I'd say, hey, did you get your pizza coupon? Just a good person. They bleed red when they get cut, and that, to me, just like the hippie John Lennon, is a human being. They deserve to be cared about. So I want the listeners out there that are listening, if you feel there's ever been medical malpractice and you want to just keep it generic on the airwaves, you can always get their number for a personal consultation after, which I have memorized, by the way, 57300 blank blank. So I'll let Tom Porzio say that. But anyway, if you've been wronged and you feel you've been wronged, if you feel never, never, never would a hospital or doctor intentionally do something wrong because they save our lives. But sometimes accidents happen. Why don't Attorney Thomas Porzio introduce himself and his firm, and Leslie, you discuss the medical malpractice. The rest of the show is yours. I'm done talking.
Thank you, Mike.
Cue it.
I've been practicing law in Waterbury for about 31 years now. I started out with Mike's friend fielding Secor at Secor Casting McPartland in the early 80s. Moved over to my friends Ed Duffy, Mike Fasano, and Bill Tynan in the mid-'80s, and then on my own in '92.
Right.
My practice concentrates in doing personal injury work, workers' compensation, and real estate. I was fortunate to have Leslie come on board with us a couple of years ago, and Leslie has a vast knowledge in medical malpractice. Now, along with that, we do some other things. We do some estate work. We'll do some criminal work, but
Sure.
we concentrate in the personal injury, workers' comp, and now medical malpractice. Mike, you had mentioned earlier, Medicare. This is what your show's all about.
Medicare and You.
Medicare gets very involved in workers' compensation cases, in personal injury cases. As you know, there's something out there called the Secondary Payer Act, whereby Medicare pays medical bills related to an injury, medical malpractice, car accident, a workers' comp injury. They expect to be paid back once
Sure.
a settlement is reached in a case like that. And in some cases, like in workers' compensation cases in the state of Connecticut now, Medicare, if there's going to be future medical bills beyond a settlement, will require what's called an MSA, or a Medicare set-aside. In which case they require a fund of money to be set aside or put into an escrow account to pay for the injuries associated with the claim that they've made through workers' comp. That hasn't reached the personal injury end yet, but
Remember, we're on TV.
it's coming.
Talking to the cameras.
It's coming. So
Okay, so the MSA is for the future claims.
it's for the future claims.
Right.
That,
Well
and
stated.
basically it protects Medicare. Medicare. Basically, they sit back and they say, look, we're not going to let you settle a case, take all the money, put it in your pocket, and then expect us to pay for medical treatment related to those injuries that you sustained, especially in the workers' comp arena at this point. For personal injury cases, car accidents, future has future MSAs or MSAs for future medical has not yet reached that area. Some states it has.
Right.
However, the medical malpractice area is something that Leslie certainly knows a lot about, and we've been somewhat successful in bringing some claims.
Somewhat. The phone's lit up the hook. Obviously,
And,
very successful.
So I'm going to let Leslie talk about her role in the medical malpractice field, and then we'll be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Right.
Right. Well, I've been doing medical malpractice for about 18 years. First 9 years or so for generally institutions or doctors, individuals being sued. And for the last 9 years have focused more on being a patient advocate. And medical malpractice has really changed over the 18 years that I've worked in it. And there used to be quite a bit more cases brought. Medical malpractice cases, unlike other types of cases, really don't settle. So if somebody takes a case, they need to be prepared to go the distance generally, either to try the case or to get pretty darn close to trying the case, which requires now for everyone to have a similar medical expert, even to file the written complaint, which is the document that starts off the lawsuit. So you need to know the right people. You need to be able to research and get the best people on your team because you're going up against a pretty solid machine. But those cases where there has been permanent and catastrophic damage, death, or some major life change as a result of doctors or institutions' negligence, they really require the skills of somebody who's done medical malpractice before, knows the ropes, knows the players. In Connecticut, it's a very small group of people who are actually qualified to run a case and back a case. So it gives me tremendous satisfaction once I've built the case block by block to the point where it can withstand everything the defense throws at it and to get a good result for a very deserving family. But as one of the callers said, these cases last for years, so it's essential to have attorneys that are accessible. It's essential to have attorneys who you like and clients that you like, because you're going to be spending a lot of time. And as a very well-known attorney said to me one time, medical malpractice cases, they take on a life of their own after a while, because they have so many twists and turns. But to get it over the final goal, that is really satisfying to everyone involved.
Would it go to arbitration, or would it go to court and then a judgment?
Well, I've had medical malpractice cases go through arbitration. Mm-hmm. That in itself can take a very long time, and everybody has to have something to lose. In the most recent case that I arbitrated, my client was someone who I didn't think was going to fare well in front of a jury. And the doctor, the surgeon who had committed the malpractice, he also did not have an engaging way about him. So we all decided that the best thing would be to have an attorney that we all trusted make a decision. And, it worked out very well for the client. And the other thing about arbitrations, and this isn't just true of medical malpractice, but of all arbitrations, and I'm sure Tom will agree, there's a certain safety net. You're going to get a minimum amount of money that's going to at least cover the expenses and have a base. But on the upside, you're also limited, so the defendants know that they're not going to be paying their entire policy. Their personal assets are not going to be at stake. So there's something for everyone to consider, and that can work out well. How have you found arbitration as an option as opposed to trial?
I've always found arbitration and sometimes mediation, but we'll stick with arbitration at this point, to be a great alternative to a trial. Because as Leslie was explaining, they will set highs and lows. So the defense side limits their exposure. We don't tell the arbitrator what the highs and lows are that we're setting for our arbitration. So they're protected on their exposure on the high side, and we'll set a low below which the payment cannot go. No matter what the arbitrator awards, he could award zero. We will still be able to obtain for our client the low amount that we set on the arbitration. And it's easier. It's much less formal than having to go to court, pick a jury, and try a case in front of a judge and a jury. It takes a lot more time. There are very knowledgeable arbitrators out there, good lawyers who are willing to act in that position, and I always find that it's a much better and quicker way to go. It's tough to get defense to agree to arbitration a lot. But once we get there, it certainly works out, I think, for both sides. Mediation is a different form of trying to settle a case, where there are no highs and lows set. It's not binding, whereas arbitration would be binding on the parties. A mediation, again, will use knowledgeable lawyers to act as mediator, and ask them to evaluate the file, evaluate the case, the person's injuries, and try to convince both sides to compromise to some degree and settle the case. Mediations work half the time. If they don't work, we end up back in the courtroom.
Right. Well, it depends how motivated people are, and oftentimes when what we do, I know in the office, is we more often than not put just about everything in suit, because when people try to settle a case before there's that leverage of having some real consequences by failing to settle, the numbers are so much lower.
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking. Tom, I take you for a pit bull in the courtroom.
We try to be strong.
You're pretty diesel yourself, and you care about the client. I take you for not a backing down at all.
No, we don't. We try not to.
So I've got to ask, reading Leslie's bio, you worked for that side. She began her legal career representing hospitals and doctors in New York, then relocated to Connecticut. I think one of my employees were born in that year, I think. But what made you go to this side? Was there a personal experience? How did you care more about the person than the deep pockets?
Well, I mean, I think that there are very deserving clients on both sides of the fence, and I think that there's also people who are undeserving on both sides of the fence.
Right.
So I've had the good fortune of just always feeling strongly in my own personal relationships with attorneys. So when I made the adjustment over to the other side, generally, although actually my latest malpractice case that I just took on about 3 weeks ago, I'm actually representing a doctor, and she's suing another doctor.
That's
so
fine. That's
I'm not sure which side of the fence I am at.
Versus us out here. They've got a whole team of attorneys and everything.
Well, they do.
So,
they have a lot of resources.
Good
but
word.
When you get a defense verdict on behalf of a defendant, that's fine. But nothing beats the feeling of hitting a home run when you're working for the little guy. And I've always been someone who's been kind of an underdog, and really proud to be able to be just as prepared and just as fully funded and resourceful as my opponents. And, the judges in Connecticut know who I am. They know that I've been working for both sides. So they, I think, consider my numbers with a little bit more sensibility than some other people who really haven't seen the other side of the equation.
Well, luckily that doesn't happen in our fabulous city of Waterbury. Darlene Stromstead at Waterbury Hospital, Chad Wable, they do a phenomenal job. So I'm sure you're talking about other hospitals in other areas. Taking a commercial break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Callers out there, 757-1320. If you've been wronged, you've got two experts here in the studio.